Hello and welcome back to my channel, Meandrius Plays. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, hit that bell, and we're gonna go ahead and get started today. My goal is to fix up some of this flooding issues with this dam over here, continue getting that built, continue building this power spine and production gravity batteries, just get the power sorted. And then after looking at what we did with this second dam down here, I do think that would be a good place to move most of our water pumping stations over on this side. That way, you would notice during the droughts, I often debate whether to keep pumping to store more water or to not pump to make sure we have enough water for irrigation. If we draw our water from this side, even if we draw all of it out, the water in front of this dam will stay to irrigate our crops. So that'll kind of spread out our water usage to help us survive longer droughts. So we're going to move some of the pumping stations down this way. We're going to keep these medium tanks where they are because they're close to the beavers' houses and also their food supply so they can get a drink. And we'll keep these on obtain. So the new tanks we build over in this side, we'll just keep it at normal accept. So they will fill those, but when these ones are low, the haulers will move the water back over here where most of the beavers can use it more readily. So that's going to be part of our plan, and just see what other issues come up. After we clear out some of this, I do want to get more food started to be planted and more water storage built so we can more safely increase our population. So there's kind of a lot of irons in the fire right now, a lot of things waiting to be built and kind of happening at the same time. So we're just going to see how we can get it all done. I definitely want to address this first. The end of last video, we did prioritize this, and the flooding on the side we care about with our trees has already subsided. So that is wonderful. Let's take a look back into the building mode. Okay, so that's just fine. I think to get this built a little bit quicker, that's right, we are on a bottleneck for planks. I was thinking about ladders up this side as well, but I don't think we don't really have the planks to make that work out. So we'll just let that be. I really think we can't build much more at the moment because I think we really want to get this power situation under control in order to produce planks at a decent rate again. I'm honestly debating if we want to build another lumber mill. We got 4 haulers. I don't think we need so many inventors right now, so I think that will actually be a good idea to get another lumber mill right here. How can we do that? Because the lumber mill's not tall enough building that we can just connect directly from up here. Not going to be a real good way to go about it, honestly. Well, actually, we could just put it back one. Instead of lining it up with this path, if we put it, say, here, then have another platform instead of the vertical power shaft, we could have the path to it underneath there. So then, yeah, that will work just fine. So let's go ahead and delete these two. That's going to disconnect it, but that'll be okay for now. Where is my path? Oh no, I can't even build this here because of the windmill. It's too high. I should have known. I'd rather not delete the windmill until we get this up and running. But really, it is what is causing the issues over here with building. Yeah. I think we should just get rid of it. We've already disconnected these power shafts, so it's already not connected. So I'm just going to delete that, get some of those planks back to speed up some of this other building. We can put that lumber mill right there. Not sure if that was all the right call. I kind of built before the replacements, demolished before the replacements were built. Obviously, it's not ideal in the long run. But I think getting that additional plank production will really help. Okay, we can observe how this is going. It's not going great, not going terrible. It's going to be kind of slow going for now, because they'll need to build all of this before, and just keep building each section growing up, and then they can step on this and then build this up. So they can only get to one piece at a time, so that's why it's going to go slow. What would speed it up, and I think I'm going to do, is if I build a small pile right here for logs and hit that, put that as obtained. Then the haulers will bring our logs over there, similar to how we got this done quickly. And this doesn't need to be obtained anymore. We don't need to delete it, it's still extra storage. Okay, we got a drought approaching. I really think for this drought, our priority is to get this whole dam situation figured out and get a bigger reservoir. So I'm going to set that as highest priority, and then those as second. We're kind of caught up on the trees here. I'm going to pause one of these again, so we hopefully have another hauler, and that's going to help us move materials around more. I'm going to prioritize this by haulers so that we get some logs in here ASAP. There we go. Now these builders that are building these, all of these levees and dams only require logs, so they'll only have to go this far. Notice how he's just going back and forth between that pile, and how much quicker that is than going all the way to another storage. So that's going to speed it up tremendously. Letting your haulers do the hauling for you and getting the resources near where they're needed is so crucial. So as we block up more of these, this is going to flood more until we get these levees put in. We could avoid that flooding by doing this construction during the drought. This is unconnected. I'll finish my train of thought here in just a second. So we can avoid this flooding by doing it in the drought. But the reason I'm doing during the drought, but the reason I'm doing it now is because I want this additional water storage before the drought happens. Beavers are sleeping. They need rest too. That's fine. We got more plank production up and running now. So that's going, I'm not sure why it's flooding here. I think it's just because the water physics are changing up here with this additional flooding. It's kind of surging just a little bit down here. Before I forget, before this flood goes, we're going to close this sluice gate instead of having it on auto. Close above downstream depth of 0.5, meaning if it was above 0.5, it'd be closed if we had this checked. But if it was below 0.5, it'd be open. Well, during the drought, this is going to empty entirely, and I don't want this to be open and empty out this. So until we are growing anything back in this area, we're going to keep this sluice just closed. Having that sluice there really only is future-proofing it so that when we're ready to use this area, that we can get water there. So yeah, the flooding's going to get worse before it gets better. But again, these are just 2 more levees. Well, 2.5. Still going to get worse till both of those are done. But really, they should knock it out pretty quick with the logs right here. We can definitely, I think, get this done before the drought hits. These berries have 5 days before they die to the flooding. That should be just fine. Yeah, I think we're doing okay. We are eating through a lot of our logs now. Between this building project and the fact that we're making twice as many planks, we are going to eat through them considerably faster. With that in mind, pretty soon it might be time to chop down some more of these oaks. Yeah, we're at almost half of our storage, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, did we mark these for cutting? We did, so we'll let him work and get us some more logs too. All right, our reservoir is complete. The goal will eventually be to get it higher, but for now, we have that extra water that will be helpful throughout the drought. Our water tanks are completely full, so we can pause one of those for a little bit. Now, what happened over here? Why is this empty? Why is that open? I didn't want that open. Just set it to close. I think we noticed that just in the nick of time. If it's on auto, why is it open? Close. How about I just set it to close above downstream 0? But honestly, just keeping it closed will also work. I'm confused how enough. I guess I didn't have any of these checked, so it wasn't. There was no condition for it to close on auto. But we caught it just in time that we stored some water here. Not crucial, we're not pumping out of this area yet, but it's good that we have some stored there. 15-day drought this time. I think this extra water backing up here will definitely come in handy. Let's see if there's any building problems going on here. I think the main thing we're waiting on is just planks. We got one gravity battery complete. Unfortunately, it's not hooked up to our system yet. I'm going to pause the gear workshop. We got plenty of gears. Another issue is going to be they're not going to be able to build these 2 power shafts, I don't think, without us giving them a way up there. It's just not going to be in range. The easiest way to do that's probably to build these ladders just temporarily. It's not very cost effective. But we don't have any bridges or anything like that unlocked, so I think that's the best way we can get that done. From the top of this ladder, they should be able to reach this one. I'm going to pause that construction, because once they build that, they won't... No, they'll be able to get back there. Never mind. I thought there wasn't a path here. Excuse me. So our water is still fine in our storage. One thing I would also like to do, once we aren't hurting for planks quite so badly, is make a path over here. Actually, I was going to make platforms to connect this side to that side instead of going all the way this way. But really, we already got a ladder down here. So we could connect these sides pretty dang cheaply with just another ladder. And then we don't need these extra paths. So now if we build more over here, it'll be more connected to our industrial sector. Like if we want to basically expand the industrial sector out to this side, they have a path that's connected instead of a long way around. All right. Good. Can they reach this one? I'm pretty sure they can. I just want to make sure. Yep. All right. So we got our gravity battery almost hooked up. Let's do that, and now finish it out real quick. Just so that we can have this gravity battery. See, it starts all the way up, so it starts with a bunch of horsepower stored. Which, because we don't have this water wheel or this previous windmill running, that extra power will be very handy, because we do not have a whole lot coming from this this wheel of shame. These turning. All right, our gravity battery is hooked up. But it does not have any power sources hooked up to it yet. So once it's out, it's out. Unfortunate, but soon enough we'll have these windmills hooked up, and that should help power it. I really like that one done. You know, I really should have... What am I waiting for up here? Planks and logs. So, just like before, I'm going to build some small piles up here, because this construction is taking so long because our builders are having to go out and grab the materials. We'll prioritize building these. One of them set to planks, obtain. The other set to logs, obtain. What do gravity batteries take? Gravity batteries also take gears. So since we want these other two batteries to be built, we'll also build a small warehouse here and set it to gears and obtain. So then these haulers can really help out by getting the construction materials closer by. That's honestly something I should have done a while ago. I just messed up and it slowed things down. We don't have any empty beds, so we're at our max population for the moment. And I'm not comfortable growing it quite yet. And I'll feel a lot more comfortable growing it once we have water pumping moved over here. I do think I'm going to pause this other pump as well, just to preserve our irrigation, because it's already getting down there and we still have 10 days left. All right, our windmills are up and running and our gravity battery is recharging. You can see it physically, visually see it going up as it's charging. During non-working hours, when our beavers aren't drawing power, that's often when most of the... Ideally, that's when if you have your power demands and your power producing buildings balanced about where it should be, it's during the nighttime that your gravity battery should charge. And then you'll use that extra charge during the day and hopefully not run out before it's time to charge more of it up at night. Oh yeah, this construction's going so much better with this other storage here. Okay, we have all the metal we need for that too, so that's just fine actually. We don't need to unpause the smelter. Although what we can do, now that we got this power sorted out, we don't need a beaver in the wheel of shame at all. Free up one more worker. He's going to go into the hauling post. We had plenty of hauling jobs for them to do. So this is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's only opening if this gets too low. It's closed at the moment. And how that's helping is we got a lot of water stored up here vertically. So there's less surface area, so we have less evaporation happening until we need to send it down this way. Actually, with that in mind, I am going to turn this pumping back on. I don't want to run out of water. And I do want, during the drought, I had said earlier, droughts are a good time to expand your dams. So, well, let's try to see if we can get another layer of height in there. The only reason I'm building this corner piece, it's not needed to hold the water, but it's going to act like a pathway. for the beavers to build on until we have better ways with the bridges and building from above. So we can do that, that, and that. That's the water level here is already below this dam, so we can delete those. In order, okay, it wasn't quite. A little bit of water flowed over, but that's just fine. More levees, not floodgates, dams. That's not a dam either. Third time's the charm. Dams. And the only reason I'm using dams up there instead of floodgates is because I want the beavers to be able to walk across that to build this. It does also help that dams and levees don't require the planks that the floodgates require. And even though we're using so many logs, we are actually still going up because we are collecting all of these oaks as well. Pretty soon here, we're going to stop harvesting these pines. And we're going to leave some of them to grow fully. Because once they are fully grown, every 7 days, they'll produce pine resin that this tapper shack can collect. And with that pine resin, we can make treated planks in the wood workshop. So that will be very helpful as well. Those treated planks, what are they? There's a few things they're needed for. I keep clicking the wrong stuff. One of the things I was looking at that we probably want fairly soon is this large water pump needs treated planks. And what's good about this, three beavers can work in this to produce water faster. It's bigger, but it can also reach deeper. This can go down 4 tiles, whereas the normal water pump can only go down 2. So if we want to pump out of this section of water, we need a deeper water pump, which for the Folktails is the large water pump. So I foresee a time not too far in the future where we are collecting water there. We can actually, in preparation for that, we'll probably want these platforms, double and triple platforms. And those are just higher platforms that is cheaper than building multiple of the single platforms. So up here, we can do something like that. And that will be a place to put our deep water pump. And this one water pump will pump every hour. It'll get us 15 water, whereas this will only get us 3 water. So it is much more efficient, even though it does require more labor. The output overall is much higher. All right, we are easily going to get this dam higher. I'm actually going to destroy these dams. I wish I would have noticed how good a progress we were making on that earlier. So we could have saved some of those logs, but I'm going to go up another level because honestly, we can. I waited for that beaver to get down before I built this section. And if you hover over just the roads before you drag, it'll only delete the roads. You want to be careful with that so you don't delete your levees by accident. There we go. And we're going to prioritize that. I don't think there's anything else really building. I guess the gravity batteries, which are waiting on gears because we did not unpause our gear workshop. That wasn't a complete sentence. I apologize. There's not much else we were building besides these gravity batteries that would use the planks, but they already have all the planks that they need. So it wasn't entirely necessary to prioritize this ladder. It would have happened regardless. But in case there was something, a building project I forgot about, I did want that prioritized so that they could reach these levees. Again, I'm sorry I paused it extra. That was unnecessary. But let's put that there, and I think we can get yet another layer on this dam before the drought is over. And I am looking forward to that. How much water we got left in here? It is going down because this sluice is opening and closing because we are at that 0.4 level that I told it to open at. So when this pumps, it goes below the 0.4 and the sluice opens. Once the sluice opens and enough water goes through, it's above the 0.4 and the sluice closes. Then this will pump out and it'll just keep rotating between open and closed, keeping it right about at that 0.4 as we're pumping the water out. Good. We got 2 gravity batteries, but we are lacking power shaft to connect them. That will be fixed momentarily. Excellent. I love that we have these windmills going and the gravity batteries to store that power. That was so much needed. Now these are running at 100% efficiency power-wise, and we got more of them. So it just exponentially increased our plank and gear production. In fact, I'm going to unpause the smelter too, just to build up some more metal, because we have the power to spare now. We have the capability. Okay, this is not making as fast of progress as I thought it would, but it'll get done, I believe. We got to build that. That's still waiting on gears. Okay. Not the end of the world. These beavers are already utilizing that path there. Makes sense. They're bringing the logs here to use this. Oh, we got to set that large pile to obtain. These 2 should be set to supply. I was pretty sure we could get this done, and I'm still hopeful. Yeah, it should be fine. This is going to be the main thing we want done. If it's not done in time, it is going to flood back on these berries. Again, not a huge deal. They're just berries. Berries aren't super useful for folk teeth. They can be food. I said folk teeth. Last time I said iron tails, and now I'm saying folk teeth. For folktails, they are a source of food, but they don't give any morale bonuses. They can also be used for, where is it? It's under well-being. It's the herbalist. Making dandelions, berries, and paper, we can make antidote. So the antidote is the folktales way of dealing with contamination if your beavers swim in contaminated water. We probably will plant some dandelions and make some antidote just to have a stockpile in case we mess up. Ideally, if you don't make any mistakes, your beavers should never become contaminated. But it's better to be prepared. Mistakes do happen. And that's the main use besides food. I think it's the only use that we have for berries besides food. Iron teeth, not iron tails, iron teeth have other uses for berries. Mainly, the only way they can reproduce is in breeding pods, which consume berries. So the iron teeth always need berries. Folktails do not. Did I say that right? Yeah, folktails. Good. Pat myself on the back for that. Small wins. All right. So, nothing to do in range. Yep, it's that beaver. We can just delete that lumberjack flag because that flag will never be in range of these. Okay. So some of these pines are not always irrigated when the water levels get too low. Okay, so that's actually getting pretty dangerously low. We got 683 water stored. I'm going to pause the pumping station. I think I'm going to stop cutting some of these pines in order to start growing some resin. We can't harvest that resin until we have the tapper shack, and we can't use it until we have the wood workshop. But having some is going to be nice. We also need just straight up resin for the observatory, which I do also think we're going to get started here pretty soon. That's going to greatly increase our science production, because a lot of these other buildings we're going to want take quite a bit of science. So we do need to up that. That should be good. Not sure why I paused it. We did run out of water here. Thankfully, we only have half a day left. We can go from there. I do love that we got this bigger dam project going. So now we don't have to wait for the water to reach the top of this dam before this starts filling, because this sluice is at the bottom. And this, being bone dry, is obviously below 0.4, so it's going to be open. Excellent. And I don't think I think we're going to manage to save our potatoes. We do have to wait for this to get all the way up. To make that faster, we could put sluices down here. Not a huge deal, to be honest. Honestly, I don't feel like it's worth demolishing that just to get water 0.1 day sooner. Because if you're doing okay on water, it shouldn't even matter. All right, so this is going to remain closed now that this is filled above that 0.4 until this gets full. So you'll notice now our sluice is still closed. So what's filling up this section is it's overflowing our dams. So the sluice lets water out of our reservoir when our irrigation canal is low. So that's useful during droughts and when we're draining the water from the reservoir to be used. The floodgates or dams at the top are for overflow. So you don't want to use sluices for overflow. They're really not meant for that, and you can end up with some flooding issues. The ideal setup for releasing water both during a drought and during the temperate season when the water's flowing is a sluice on the bottom and either floodgates or dams up top. Floodgates, you could hold theoretically a little more water here, but they will not be able to walk on. Not be able to be walked on. Okay, we got a little bit of flooding here. I think that's just kind of the surge from this catching some water until it released it. Yeah, that's going to resolve itself. There might be some flooding around here too when this surges. You can see it surging up and just kind of rolls back. It's a wave that bounces off of the floodgates. As I expected, there's some flooding, but we saw last temperate cycle that the flooding did resolve itself. So if we're just patient here, it'll go away. Might flood one more time with another surge, or it might not. It did. It was, I was going to say it was less, but it wasn't a whole lot less, actually. It often seems like the water physics are more wonky at the 3 times speed. So sometimes you have less flooding issues if you slow it down a little bit. So let's do that. Or maybe that's just in my head. I don't know. See, we have water again. Let's unpause our water pumps. I'm going to delete this lumberjack. We're not using him right now anyway. And that way we can build a path over here for what will eventually be our tapper shack. In fact, why don't we just unlock that now? We won't need to put any employees in there until these are producing resin. I also think it would be appropriate with this extra area here to plant more oaks. Really not a reason not to, and we're going to need more wood eventually. I'll plant even a few more. Something like that. Keep some space here in case I need more lumberjack legs. Let's see. Carrots are going down. And I think what we're going to do right now is actually delete some of these berry bushes. We don't need all of that. And then we'll plant a few more not carrots. We'll plant some potatoes. So I think the only reason the carrots are going down is because they're running out of potatoes to eat and they're hungry. You know what? My OCD is telling me this needs to be planted with carrots here, though. And this with a potato. That looks better. Actually kind of bugging me that these two are carrots. It doesn't look right. That might just be me. But we are going to clear that planting and replant those with potatoes when the time comes because I want to. I think it'll look nicer. Let's see. And no bad water got over this way because of our dam system again. Thank you again for that suggestion, Colin. I think this is working out well. And I think it'll be a great spot to do our water pumping. We don't have the treated planks, of course, yet for our large water pump. But I do think I'm going to start expanding our water storage on this side of the map. I only want to build one of those right now. Even though we can't build the large pump, I do want to get those pumps moved to this side. So let's do, yeah, that and that. That should be good. Once these are built, I'm actually going to, I had set this area aside for pumps, but since this will no longer be the water we're going to be pumping from, there's no reason to. And these will just be a stopgap measure until we have that large pump going over here. And at that point, for some reason, I thought the path was on the other side. That road looks like a mess, and honestly, I hate it. Let's delete it. Especially as the game gets later, as you get further in a playthrough, having extra paths actually does start to hinder your performance. Because beavers always want to take the shortest path possible. Your computer has to calculate the distance from every location using every available path. So the more options it has, the more computer power, processing power that's going to take. So if there's a lot of options and you have a lot of buildings that beavers are running between, and each one of those beavers going to and from those buildings has a lot of options on pathing, it eventually will start to bog down even the best of computers. Okay, maybe not the best, but on a larger map, if you have a lot of options, it really starts to put a drain on your processing power. All right, we completed our last gravity battery, which is excellent. I don't think we quite have enough windmills to keep this going very long. We expand this industrial sector out much, we are going to need more windmills. All right, so everything's working out honestly very well. We expanded some food production. We are expanding water storage capabilities. So with those, once those two things are in place, there it is. Wonderful. Now that that's in place, on the next episode, I feel comfortable expanding our population some. And with that, we'll have the ability to, with that additional population, we can get a lot more done. We can expand our industrial sector, maybe make more planks. I really want to get that number cruncher up and running. That will help a lot too. So I think two of our priorities on our next episode are going to be, I said number cruncher. That is the Iron Teeth advanced science building. I meant observatory. It'll draw more power, but it will increase our science significantly. So that will be one of our goals. And the other goal will be to get a large water pump going. So that will entail a couple of steps to get the pine resin and the treated planks. That should take up most of the next episode, I think, while we're trying to finagle our industrial sector to accomplish that. But I do think at the start of this next drought, after we figure out exactly how long it's going to be, we're going to end it for today. And just see how that goes. How fast are our batteries draining? They're honestly draining pretty slowly at the moment. The windmills are spinning pretty fast. Not their highest potential. But decent. So that's good. Even though we're using the power, it's during daytime. Once it's nighttime. Okay, the wind stopped before working hours ended. So we actually ended up drawing more power. And now the working hours ended. The windmills aren't spinning to charge our gravity batteries. But the water wheel still is, because it is a temperate cycle. Water is flowing. We have power from there, and that's charging our gravity batteries. Really nice if this wind picks up again before it's time to work so that we can charge these more. But it's not going to. So now our buildings are working again, and the wind finally turned back on. It actually came back pretty strong, thankfully, because these gravity batteries were getting kind of low, to be honest. All right, so we have so much metal planks. We can pause that. I said metal planks. I did mean metal blocks. So we'll pause the smelter. Having more planks would be good, but we don't have the storage for it right now. Let's address that. Where do we want to put more plank storage? Well, these lumberjack legs are never going to do anything. And with this path here, that's actually pretty close to our industrial center. So let's have some plank storage right there. Yeah, right now we only had this small pile and this other one up here for building the power stuff. Now we got a lot more plank storage. The beavers were stopping producing because they ran out of storage, and that's just a waste of labor if we don't have the storage for that. Okay, we were blessed today with a nice and short drought. Last one was 15 days, I believe. This one's only 10. We got lucky. That's going to be very easy for us to survive, no problem. We have way more water stored up than we did before. We got pumps over here. We don't need these ones anymore. I'm just going to delete these two pumps because I'm hoping fairly soon we'll have that large water pump going over here. This one's going to be set to accept. These ones obtain. Yeah, that'll be good. All right, folks. I am going to call it there. This is a good time to end the episode. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Leave any comments on what things you would like to see. And I will see you guys next time.